not sure what to do with that. I was definitely not going to win a Super Bowl there, says DeMarcus Lawrence. Well, Micah Parsons took issue with this because he claims this is what rejection and envy looks like. This some clown emoji. Okay, so then the two exchanged a couple of X's back and forth, and DeMarcus Lawrence capped it with this. Calling me a clown won't change the fact that I told the truth. Maybe if you spent less time tweeting and more time winning, I would not have left. Devil purple face emoji. Everyone's angry, Peter. Everyone's feeling things, whether you're in Dallas or not. Let's dig into this situation. Peter, please do us what you do ever so well. Set the table and then just your thoughts behind this interaction.
Well, look, it's nothing quite like on the way out, just leaving something for everyone else to deal with. That's what DeMarcus Lawrence did. He's like, I'm going to spend 11 years here. I'm going to raise a family. I'm going to make this my home. But on the way out, throw that out there that we were not winning a Super Bowl. I do wonder if this unmasks some of the stuff that was boiling under that locker room the last couple of years. You know, Mike McCarthy had the weirdest situation ever where his contract just kind of ran out and then he didn't get another job. And instead of just, negotiating for whatever it was, he's out of coaching right now. And it's beyond belief that he was, at the Combine we're talking about how he's working with Quinn Ewers as a quarterbacks coach. Like, that's what he's doing right now. And you look back at Dallas, they're quiet in free agency. They haven't taken care of Parsons. And, Dak goes to the Bahamas and gets a Fly Eagles fly chain. Mm-hmm. For the first time since I've been on this show in 8 years, it's starting to feel like the Cowboys are not only a little bit of like unraveling a bit, but also like kind of the joke right now. And that has to affect Jerry Jones. That has to affect Jerry Jones. That every morning we're starting off, what are the Cowboys doing? Ha ha, we're passively aggressive. What does that mean? We don't know. You're actually not involved. And now you've got this former player on the way out who was a really esteemed and well-established Cowboy throwing a carpet bomb on the way out. Micah Parsons takes the shrapnel of this, and he's going to try to defend his guys. But then Lawrence gets the last word and is like, you're busy tweeting and podcasting, which if you're a Cowboys fan, you see that and you're like, that's kind of what my thoughts were, but I haven't been able to say it because I'm just a fan. Oh, here's a player and a teammate and a defensive leader saying it. Look, I didn't play the game. You guys did. I know there's all sorts of dynamics in a locker room. But I will say this. Everyone around the league and everybody on TV right now is kind of snickering at the Cowboys. I have to imagine this is embarrassing for the folks who run the organization.
I hear you, Peter. And I think the reason you might say that is that this is a important, powerful headline. And it is because I could say the Cowboys haven't won a Super Bowl or aren't going to win a Super Bowl. Anybody with a podcast can say that. An insider could say that. It's that it comes from a guy who was born and bred as a Cowboy. And to your point, not just someone who had a cup of coffee and was there for one camp. DeMarcus Lawrence is a very important Cowboy, a landmark Cowboy of really the 21st century, who's been there 11 years and has worn a Cowboys helmet in several Pro Bowls. And his reaction is not, thanks for the memories. They're never going to win a Super Bowl. That's not me saying it. We don't get this from a guy who was a Cowboy and will be probably remembered for life. I'm not saying it. DeMarcus Lawrence is saying, in effect, the new coach is underwhelming. Free agency is underwhelming. Micah Parsons is maybe underwhelming and is certainly mismanaged. I'm not saying it. DeMarcus Lawrence is saying that the Eagles over the last several years have more Super Bowl appearances than you have playoff wins. DeMarcus Lawrence is saying the Commanders were just in a title game and you haven't been in one since 5 years before Jaden Daniels was born. He's saying you're not going to win it. And better believe anyone who might have a perception that Micah Parsons does too much media, which I do not, he's saying, you go tweet and pod and do all that stuff. And by the way, your production really hasn't been what it's been. So maybe that's the reason you're not getting paid as quickly. I'm not saying that. A guy who was in the same room as him, the same huddle as him, all of that is saying it. We don't see these from the Cowboys. We see Jerry surrounded by 50 people saying his usual stuff. We say whoever the coach is towing the line. And we say players mostly staying in line. DeMarcus Lawrence just said, I know everything about that organization. Nobody knows. I got a PhD in 21st century Dallas Cowboys, and they're never winning a Super Bowl. It's not me saying it, Peter saying it, you saying it. Him saying it means a lot more. It makes it a lot more memorable.
Yeah, Kyle, I think you describe everything perfectly. It's just very underwhelming what this offseason has been for the Dallas Cowboys. I didn't see one player tweet, let's get to work, or we're getting ready to go, for this Brian Schottenheimer hire. It's just, there's no excitement here. There's a lack of moves. I mean, it's just Micah Parsons doesn't have a contract yet. There's no offseason moves. And a guy like DeMarcus Lawrence, who spent 11 years on this team, gave it his absolute all. For him to come out and say that and truly feel like, hey, this team is never going to win a Super Bowl, it very much so reminds me of the Damian Lillard story arc of giving his absolute all to the Portland Trailblazers and finally just being like, you know what? Enough is enough. I am not going to win here. I gave it absolutely everything I got. I'm done. I still call this place my home. I love this place, but I'm done and I'm over it. And that's what DeMarcus did.
Dame, what's up, Dame talk this morning, Isaac?
Yeah, this is more Good Morning Basketball. Like, I like a little touch of that.
Yeah, sometimes.
Here's my thing with it. I know this. Have you ever had a disagreement with your significant other and you get around the homies and you tell a totally different story to them than actually happened? I think Peter hit it right on the head. I think there's some drama maybe in this locker room that is just spilling over, some frustrations. I don't think those two guys are getting into a tweeting match unless there was frustration that was pre-existing. Also, I don't know what DeMarcus Lawrence is talking about when it comes to Super Bowls. If I'm comparing these two teams, Seahawks and Cowboys, that are fully rolling, I'm taking the Cowboys every time. I mean, Dak Prescott has had great seasons. You've seen CeeDee Lamb play very well. I don't really love this. I'm leaving to go win a Super Bowl, and I'm going to the Seahawks.
It'd be different if he was like standing in the Chiefs practice facility or the Bills or the Ravens. But like you're saying, in terms of teams that might be closer to the finish line, holding a Lombardi, having a parade, you would take the Cowboys right now.
Correct. Okay. I think a lot of people in the NFL, and we see a lot of teams in the NFL who need a quarterback, if Dak was available and they knew he was rolling on all cylinders, they're taking him. It's no question. And you're right. Yeah, he goes to the Eagles. He goes to a team that we know is a little bit more ready to go than the Seahawks are. Sure, that argument makes sense. But this feels like drama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Voluntary.
Can I see the second full screen, the final line about the podcasting? Can we bring that tweet back up one more time? Because I find it fascinating that Micah Parsons is what I would think, the best young defender under the age of 30, whatever you want to do, and say he's just, but calling me a clown won't change the fact that maybe if you spent less time tweeting and more time winning, I wouldn't have left. This tells me that DeMarcus Lawrence walked off on his own accord. Is like, I'm done with this. This has been a situation that I have just had enough of. And DeMarcus Lawrence is going to the Seahawks, where the defensive line coach of the Cowboys for many years is now the defensive coordinator. So he's going back to and I have to wonder, without a wide mass and widespread response from Cowboys players, like being like, DeMarcus, watch your mouth, or hey, say that to our face, like, it was silent. It was like tumbleweeds. He said that, and everyone just kind of did that meme where it's like, and like the guy with the hat, and that's what it felt like. And I wonder, with that quote, is that revealing something far greater that has been said by all the other players, but they can't say, and you could only say it when you walk out the door. And the fact that we don't have 10 different Cowboys rallying around him and rallying around Micah and saying, whoa, watch yourself, that's our leader. I don't think anyone's talking about TJ Watt that way this morning. And I certainly don't think on the way out, you get this from a Myles Garrett. This is interesting that Micah Parsons, a real shot to his character and his production, and I don't see any other Cowboys players or Cowboys fans being like, hey, watch it, Micah's our guy.
And I think it's also very important to note that DeMarcus Lawrence came into this league in a completely different era than Micah Parsons. This new era of players, being on media, having their own podcast during the season, the St. Brown podcast, Micah's podcast, there's a lot of things that get thrown out in the media that other teams use as juice and as fuel. And in that era that DeMarcus Lawrence came into, it was frowned upon by coaches, by front office, for guys to be doing their things on the side because it was looked at as a distraction, or, guys aren't focused enough or they don't care enough. And I think that can turn off a lot of the older players that came into that era. So I think that also plays a part in all of this when he, clearly says like, hey, if you tweeting a whole lot less, maybe we'd be winning more and things of that nature. So I think it's just very important to also note that these are two different eras of the NFL. Like, now these players who are coming in, they're taught about branding. They're taught about, hey, use your name while you're in the league. Use your juice and build your brand and things of that nature. It's a lot of me right now. And that's kind of the era that we're in the football world right now. So I think that's really important to note as well.
I just want to double down on this because I really do feel like this feels like something that's been brewing. I understand, Peter, what you're saying about, guys should be coming out, and maybe the Cowboys community should be coming out and saying, hey, DeMarcus, we really miss you, yada, yada, yada. I feel like, again, this is something that's been brewing. I think DeMarcus Lawrence is a great player, and it just feels like drama.
Drama that has finally unearthed. Kyle, go ahead.
I'm on the same page. This is an interesting day for the Cowboys. What are they going to say today? This is a massive story that's on our show. It's leading our show. It's going to be all over the media. The NFL media likes nothing more than juicy Cowboy stuff, and we haven't gotten any of it in months. Does Jerry Jones speak today? Does anybody on the team, does Schottenheimer speak today? Is it come back to DeMarcus Lawrence now where it says, oh, really? Because I can say some things about you. Like, it's all open. He completely exposed any vulnerability. If he did anything wrong, if he ever did too much media or didn't practice, it's all there. So if you are a Cowboys player who's proud to be a Cowboys player and thinks they can win a Super Bowl, today is your day to speak. It could be now, it could be this afternoon, but don't say nothing, because being nothing is complicit in exactly what he said. I think it's time to speak up. If this is player empowerment, this is the day to use it and speak.
About where Caleb can go. We all know that there's a lot of growth that has to happen to get him to where he needs to be. But that excitement in terms of what he can be, obviously, helps get other coaches and players excited to be here and work with him and help get him to where he needs to be.
Ben, do you see that too?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he put a lot of good stuff on tape last year, and I think everyone recognizes that as they see the crossover tape and they're watching that each week. So, listen, we got a lot of really strong building blocks to get this thing going in the right direction.
This is a great string of connection between last year and this upcoming season. We were all up in the Commanders' business because of Jaden Daniels. The Commanders made a massive leap, rekindling one of the best rivalries in the NFC East, Commanders-Eagles. So it feels like we might have a similar situation happening here with Chicago and Detroit. It feels like there's juice back with the Bears and the Lions. Jason, would you agree with this, that we have a reinvigorated Chicago-Detroit rivalry?
I do definitely think that in years to come, this is going to be quite the rivalry showdown. It has all the narratives in the making for it to be that. I know the media is going to absolutely run with it every single time this matchup comes up, because Ben Johnson left the Detroit Lions on a sour note and goes right to the NFC North division opponent in the Chicago Bears. What I'll say is, if there's one guy who can go out there and unlock Caleb Williams, it is Ben Johnson. And I've seen it with my own eyes, the way Ben Johnson very personally works with his quarterbacks, the way he worked with Jared Goff. And he's the type of coach, he's not a cookie cutter guy. He's going to adjust. He's going to do what he feels is in the quarterback's best interest. He's truly going to listen. He's going to see what Caleb likes, what he doesn't like, the type of throws he does like to make, what he doesn't. And there aren't a lot of coaches in the league that do that. Most coaches, they have their system, they have what they do, and if the quarterback likes it or not, they don't really care. It's what they're asking, it's what you're going to do. Ben isn't like that at all. And I think, like I said, he's a great coach. He's a great communicator. He's a great installer of scheme, and he makes sure everything is fluid, all the way from the quarterback room to the receiver room to the O-line room. So I think that this has the makings of being a rivalry. And Ben Johnson is Ben Johnson. He's an offensive genius.
I think there needs to be some context, too, to the question, because, of course, it's a division rivals. Like, is it back? Yes, but for the last several years, and you could say for the last several decades, it was like Vikings, Packers, Vikings, Packers, Vikings, Packers, and the Bears and the Lions had their years here and there in the last 2 decades, but for the most part, it was those teams. Question is, are these the two teams in the NFC North now? Mm-hmm. And I look at this rivalry, and of course, it's got this rich tradition. Last year's games were really good, too, between them. Remember the Thanksgiving Day game with a colossal error? It ended up costing Matt Eberflus his job, ultimately, and then the next time they played, of course, it was an outdoors game, and it was good in the Lions, and that was when you got the fake handoff with Gibbs and Goff, and Gibbs goes down, and it's all that, and they're deep. So, like, the rivalry's been there. The juice is there. The real question here to me, are these the top two teams going into next season now that we've got Sam Darnold playing elsewhere, and the Packers, we know they came up short when it mattered in the wild card round against the Eagles. Are they ascending or are they descending? These two teams, they got juice right now. Are they the top two teams in the NFC North?
I don't think we need to overthink rivalries. Like, when I think of rivalries, I think back to when I played at Notre Dame. One of the funnest games that we played was Notre Dame versus Michigan. And the reason that it was fun at the time that we played is because our defensive coordinator was a Michigan guy. It was hyped up. And there was a lot of touch points for us. And that's what I think about when I think about this game. You mentioned Ben Johnson. That's a touch point. Like, that adds to this game. The fact that he came from Detroit, the fact that it matters for him, and the fact that he's bringing a lot of that influence to the Bears, huge deal. Location. These teams are not far from each other. Like, that matters when it comes to a rivalry. You're going to have a lot of fan crossover, people that are excited about it. It's going to add to it, even if you're watching at home on TV. And then I think about matchup, lastly. This Bears team, which we just talked about, is much improved. There is such a chance for this team to come out and impress everybody. And then even deeper than that, when I think about the matchup, O-line, D-line. Think about these O-line and D-lines that we're going to be watching playing. Like, the trench match is what makes this really, really special. I can't wait to watch it. And, again, the excitement around this revamped Chicago Bears team is what makes this really a rivalry that's special.
I think that's a really good point that you're making, because I think the reason these games are going to be good is because both teams are going to be really physical. Like, I think they're going to be nasty, like Ravens, Steelers era type games. I've said this over and over since this whole last few weeks. Caleb is great. The Bears in 2025 are going to run the ball. You don't trade for guards and centers and land those type of players if you're just going to air it out. Look at what Ben did last year with those two running backs in Detroit. They were really a run team, and then Jared Goff was do his thing. It's going to be a really physical run game, and I still think they're going to add a big-name running back to the Bears. The other thing I think is interesting, I'm looking at the bottom third of the screen, is the juice back in the Bears lines. There hasn't really been a ton of juice over the years because both of these teams have had long stretches where they're terrible. And I'm talking about, like, going back to the 90s. This is not Bears-Packers. It's not Vikings-Packers. Bears-Lions, both teams have suffered so much. It's never like, here we go, 11-4 versus 10-5 for the It's not like that very often. But I think it will be now because of the playing style I just mentioned. And then, look, just the Ben Johnson thing is really, really big. The fact that your superstar coordinator goes in division, you know you're going to play him twice a year, and he goes against Dan Campbell. You know, Dan Campbell had this when he went to the Broncos, and he went against Sean Payton, the guy who was his guy, and went and he destroyed him. I think a lot of the players on the Lions like Ben Johnson. This isn't one of these things where they're like, screw him. But I also think when Ben Johnson shows up to his opening day and openly disrespects the Packers, which he did do, you got to go to your old team and you're going to go back to Detroit and you're going to welcome them to Soldier Field. You got to show up. That's when you do the trick plays. That's when you do the running game. I'll put it this way. Is this one of the biggest rivalries, quote unquote, that I want to watch in 2025 this season? Hell yes. Yeah. I think Bears and Lions isn't back. It's almost showing up for the first time all across the board. This is what I'm looking for. The logos and the brands are familiar, but the rivalry is unfamiliar to us, Kyle. It's a good point, and it's maybe the first version of it that we're going to see in the NFC North. Purdy now, what the 49ers are trying to accomplish in making him a new offer and a new deal this offseason, when the 49ers have made a ton of transactions. We don't know what direction they're going in. Where do they stand right now with Purdy?
I mean, I think we do know which direction. They're cleaning up their books. They're doing a lot what it seems like our country's doing in a lot of ways, where it's like we're looking inside and we're saying, where's the fat? Let's trim it, whether you like it or not. And I know a lot of Niners fans do not like it. Get more into the country, Peter. Well, never mind the Niners. There's a lot of people who have thoughts on that. Go to other networks for that stuff. But it does feel a little bit like that, where it's, hey, wait a second. We've got this giant debt. We have to take care of this at some point. Let's address it. But the elephant in the room is this is Brock Purdy's time to get paid. He's waited. He's been the one who's been steady and consistent while they've paid everybody else. Why should he feel the pain of a Brandon Ayuk contract that maybe wasn't as advised as others would imagine or deserved? Why should he feel the pain of all these contract extensions that these guys have gotten, maybe at a number that didn't really make sense on an open market if you're not going for a Super Bowl that year? Purdy, to me, is maybe the biggest wild card in the league outside of Aaron Rodgers right now. And it's not whether he's going to be the quarterback of the 49ers. I believe he will be. It's did he just show up to the party and there's no more cake left? Mm-hmm. Like, there was a long line at the ice cream man, and then, he was 20th in line. It's finally his turn, and the ice cream man shuts the door. That could be the case. Like, I don't think the Niners did all this so that they could pay Brock Purdy $60 million. No? I don't. Wait, can I ask you, like, the new Purdy deal,
is this going to be like a Joe Burrow contract, like one of those massive things? Isn't that the going rate?
It is, and I think he has done enough where he could be in the conversation for that. But if you think they got rid of all these guys so that they can reward Purdy, I don't see it that way.
That's how I think a lot of people think is going to happen.
I don't see it that way. And I think they're going to take care of Purdy, and it'll be a sensible contract. And for him, as Mr. Irrelevant and his agent, Kyle Strongen, who are both like, we are committed to getting this for for his future and for the team's future. I don't think Purdy's a me-first guy where he's like, I need to be the highest paid. That said, I don't think the Niners are looking to shell out $60 million for Brock Purdy. I'm just not.
But here's my thing, Peter. Why should it be a sensible contract? And, this is the reality of the NFL I absolutely cannot stand because there's a class system in the NFL. This guy, for the last 4 years, has taken them to 2 NFC championships and a Super Bowl. Trevor Lawrence was a first-round pick. Where has Trevor Lawrence gone? Trevor Lawrence, when it was time for him to get paid, he got top quarterback money, period, end of story. And we're sitting here like, we're wondering what Brock's going to get. This is Mr. Irrelevant, and he's been as relevant as can possibly be in the 49ers organization. Pay that man, and it should be the type of number that is just directly under the tier of the Lamar Jacksons, the Patrick Mahomes, and the Josh Allens of the league because he has shown results. He has been productive. He has taken the 49ers to places that they haven't been in recent years. That is the reality of the situation, and that is the reality of the NFL I cannot stand because they'll try to box you in as much as they possibly can. And when you outperform what your draft status was, we sit here and we wonder, should it be a team-friendly deal? We didn't wonder that with Trevor Lawrence. I don't like it. Pay the man.
I need to not get started on that point because as a 7th rounder, I could go for days because I am also frustrated. But this is two thoughts for me. One, did he earn the right to get paid, and does he fit in the system in the future? System, yes. Shanahan, and with a great offensive line and run game and Christian McCaffrey, Purdy can continue to be successful. Defenses have to game plan for a lot, and it gives him a great opportunity to do his thing. Has he earned the right? Jason, you said it. Great. There's nothing else to say. 2 NFC championship appearances, a Super Bowl. Do you think the Giants would pay a lot of money for Purdy to go there? There's a lot of teams in the NFL that would do anything for Purdy. He's definitely earned the right to get paid.
I was triggered, too, by your phrase, Peter, of sensible contract, because I feel that feels like a myth to me. I hear about them, and I would like to see them. But then you go to the agents, and it's just, look at the comps. This guy was in a Super Bowl. He played well. Sensible, no. Give us everything. But listen, the case against Purdy, and I hear you guys about the results. If you wanted to poke a hole in it, it's a wins above replacement factor. It is the idea that he has done great things and won. Shanahan got to a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. There's an impression that put another guy in for Brock Purdy and the Shanahan machine will win. You could put Sam Darnold in there, who was there last year at a lesser deal than Brock Purdy's going to get, and you're going to win. It's that he's limited. It's that he is a passenger, basically. Now, that's where the juice is in the debate. If you really think that it's Brock Purdy's talent and acumen and work ethic, fine. But don't ignore the impression out there that Brock Purdy is certainly not a Josh Allen talent or a Joe Burrow talent. He's an average talent in a great system. He works hard and he executes, and God bless him for it. But there is 2 sides to that debate of she just pay him everything. He's amazing. It's not cut and dry.
It's a good question. What would Brock Purdy net on the open market? And I think, Isaac, you just said that, and you look at guys like Josh Allen and Joe Burrow, it would never even happen.
What would you rather have as your quarterback, Dak Prescott or Brock Purdy? You tell me. Is it clear and cut? I think I'd probably rather have Dak.
And would you rather have Brock Purdy than Trevor Lawrence if we're using Trevor Lawrence? I don't know. Trevor Lawrence still has all the potential in the world in a lot of people's eyes. And as good as Purdy is, do you take him out of that system? Is he the same guy?
Is Brock Purdy winning in Jacksonville the last few years?
I don't know.
No, I do. He's not. What do you guys think?
Well, I was going to say, I was hanging with some friends, 49ers fans at a dinner, and this guy who's a massive 49ers fan goes, I don't think Brock Purdy deserves that type of contract, that $50 million a year contract. He would rather have somebody else pay Brock Purdy, Isaac, to your point, and bring in, I'm not saying it's Rodgers, but bring in somebody on the open market because of how good Shanahan is. So there are real 49ers fans out there who are like, no, bound and gag. We don't want to pay him like that because we have to put the money elsewhere. So, Kyle, speaking to the fans, it's not, I think, the representation is just we love him. People like Brock Purdy. He's a great guy, and he seems to fit that system great, but I don't think there is this groundswell among amongst 49ers fans that are like, no, he's absolutely our guy for the next 7 years. Pay him some guaranteed massive deal because you have Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, and
Well,
the
I think
Shanahan.
the Niners fans know what time it's been for the last few years.
Yeah.
You have a dirt cheap quarterback, like the lowest paid guy in the league. And it's not a coincidence that there are players all over the defense, all over the huddle. And how many of those guys have left now? Dre Greenlaw, Juszczyk. We can keep going and going. You had your window. You didn't cash it in, and now it's a new normal. This is a new. John Lynch has a totally different job now, and I feel like Niners fans, there's probably a sense of we should have cashed it in.
Yeah.
And welcome back, guys. I'm here with Isaac, and we're going to go back to our 2018 game. I actually didn't know at the time that I played against Isaac. He was on the other side of this Chargers-Raiders game. This is my first start, my rookie year, and we've got some highlights to play for you guys, man.
I think I was probably inspiring you on my side of the field.
You might have been.
This
My guy, John Gruden. Chucky. Man, pause right here. See, Phillip Rivers is probably one of the, I don't think you guys know this, one of the biggest trash talkers in the entire NFL at the time at quarterback. I had no idea. Phillip Rivers calls me out before this play. I'm lined up right there. I got Keenan Allen at 3, and he literally looks at Keenan, points at me, and he's like, just go. I'm like, is this guy serious? Boom. Let's play this.
Well,
I run with Keenan. I'm right in this hip pocket right here. Look at Phillip Rivers, your little old man throwing a duck, man. I'm right there. I'm right there. Get that out of here. Come on, man.
You feel like you're back in it right now. I just want to point out, too, Phillip Rivers, he's a dadgummit guy when he would talk. Look at this. I felt like I was at the top of my career during these moments because I was rushing with some of the best, Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa. Oh, that boy's coming downhill.
Ooh, undrafted free agent, man. I'm playing with my hair on fire, man. This is my time. This is my time. Ooh, Keenan Allen was getting us this day, man. That boy can play.
He can play. He can play, and I feel like he ages and gets better and better as he goes.
Melvin Gordon out here. I mean, this guy was an absolute stud in college. Came out in the NFL and was tearing it up. You see him here for a 60-yard touchdown. We got our butts whooped this day, I can't lie, but I was just happy that I was out there, man. I got to rock. Finally.
The coolest thing about this year, too, is just the fact that I felt like our team was rolling. Like this D-line, like I mentioned earlier, with Melvin Ingram, myself, Joey Bosa, we had so much distribution as far as stats and sacks. And when that happens with the D-line, that's when you know you're rolling.
Get that boy 5'3" running the ball, man. Get that boy 5'3" running the ball, man. Come on now. Give me some airtime. Go ahead, show that. Go ahead. Hey, pause right here. Pause right here. Because I remember in film review this week, I used to see Derek Watt in the backfield, and I used to say, man, the only reason why Derek Watt in the league is because of his brothers, man. It's only because of JJ and TJ. That's the only reason why he in the league. I used to get so, and I said, when I see him, I promise you're going to see, man, play the clip. Play the clip.
This is getting
man, come
personal.
here. Come here. Where you going?
Hey,
Where
look,
you going?
Derek, I'll speak on behalf
Y'all
of you.
gonna get me fired up.
I played with you, Derek. You were a great teammate and an even better player. Let's not act like he didn't lead the NFL in special teams tackles.
Oh, Derek knows that. I had my battles with Derek in the league. He know that.
Oh,
I'll say it on TV.
Cabinda,
I'll say it
I
on
like
TV.
how you're like, oh, that intense clip from the Lions.
Good Raiders-Chargers games from that era, of course. But I got to ask Cabinda something. We think of you as this hard-nosed fullback for the Lions. There you are playing linebacker. When did you make the switch? And what was that conversation like? Because it's very few times a player can go from offense to defense or defense to offense in their career.
See, a lot of people don't know this, but I played linebacker my first 3 years in the league, and I ended up making the switch. I don't want to say on accident, but it actually happened because of a lot of trash talk that used to go on between me and our running backs coach, Kyle Kasky at the time. We used to have one-on-one drills with our running backs, linebackers versus running backs, pass rush and pass routes. And I remember we used to whoop up on them. And I remember passing him in the hallway in the building over in Detroit. And I was like, man, you guys need some more dogs on your side. And Kyle was like, man, why don't you come over here? We're just joking around. Next practice comes around, Kyle comes and grabs me. We got Oklahoma drills. He's like, man, just come here and play a little fullback. I had Jared Davis on the other side. He was our hardest hitting linebacker. And I came over there in training camp, and it was like a whack. And whoa, they were like, okay, hold up. Cabinda might have a little something. Then the next practice comes around. We go half line run. Same thing. We go outside zone. I'm filling in on lead zone, and boom, smack a linebacker. Next practice after that, now I'm in 11-on-11. And now I'm like, all right, what's going on here, guys? I am still a linebacker. Like, can we relax? Can we relax a little bit? And then, after that practice, I was still doing my thing. We had a fullback at the time that was drafted in the 5th round. He was a little bit injured, and I ended up making the switch. I won the job during that training camp, and the rest was history.
Oh, man.
It's perfect.
I love it. And now you're making the switch to TV, another position. Isaac, we love Phillip Rivers here. Tell us something that we don't know about 17 when you look back.
Phillip Rivers was one of the best teammates I've ever had. And I mean that genuinely. And it's not like Phillip Rivers was, had texted me, Isaac, you want to hang out? Like all this stuff. But he was so impactful. One of the biggest impactful moments that I had with Phillip, I was a 7th round draft pick from Notre Dame, corny boy, long hair, nervous to walk in the locker room. And the first day that I walked in the locker room, Phillip Rivers comes up to me, shakes my hand. He says, nice to meet you, Isaac. I'm Phillip Rivers. And I'm like, hold it, Phil.
Nice.
Come on. I know exactly who you are. But it's just the type of teammate he was. Another thing about Phil that I loved, flying back from games, and Jason, you know how fun these flights back are when you win. He would sit back and chat with the young guys, tell us stories, and just feed us with information that we wanted. We were so excited.
It was like story time with Phillip Rivers. That's exactly what any of us want on this show. My God, that's awesome.
Like Mr. Rogers, but
But Mr.
with
Rivers.
9 kids and
Right. Emily obviously hopes that Mike Vrabel is the right guy to get all of those new faces going in the same direction for New England. Peter, do you pick the New England Patriots as the team that won free agency, or do you take us to a different direction?
Free agency is not done. It's just the first wave of free agency. So I'm always cautious here about who won free agency. I remember back in the early days of FoxSports.com, we would go through the first 3 hours of day one of free agency, and they would ask me, who's winning day one of free agency? And I'm just like, the Jaguars. They spent the most money. I don't know what you want me to tell you. The Jaguars did. They got a lot of new guys.
We need to compete with AOL Fan House. Get it up,
Right,
Peter. Fan House has got great takes.
It's hard to really decide who won. I don't think last year anybody would have said the Washington Commanders, because who they brought in were guys like Zach Ertz and Austin Eckler and Bobby Wagner and Marcus Mariota. And yet, which team made the biggest leap? It was Washington. So which team do I think had the best week this week? I think it was Washington again. I love what Washington did, and it started last week when they went and they got Deebo Samuel. And this week,
it's a dynasty.
They get Laramie Tunsil. Look at this. I look at who you bring back, and leaders is what they brought back. Zach Ertz was on a 1-year deal last year, brought him back. Mariota, very instrumental in Jaden Daniels, brought him back. Wagner, 1 year, was their defensive captain and was awesome. They'll take a roll of dice on guys like Kinlaw and Goldman, who have not worked out as pros based on their 1st round and 2nd round draft statuses. And they got 1-year deals there at the bottom there with some other players. But I look at those top 2 names. Laramie Tunsil still could play football. Texans, they thought, okay, we've already hit the most with this guy. We're going to have to pay him eventually. We'll move on. Commanders look at it. They're like, we've got Jaden Daniels in his 2nd year of a rookie quarterback contract. Let's give him Laramie Tunsil to protect his side. And then, of course, Deebo Samuel is going to be motivated. Look, $21 million for a guy who might have been overweight last year. You don't like hearing that. But now it's a contract year, and he's being told that he can't live up to the money he's made. Let's see how he's used with Cliff Kingsbury's offense. I look at the Commanders, and I look at a team that is ascending and knew they had a window here with a rookie quarterback on a rookie contract. Let's try to get us over the top. They brought in 2 guys who have been blue-chip players in this league who might have something to prove as well. Shout out to not only Adam Peters and Lance Newmark in the front office, but also to Dan Quinn, Cliff Kingsbury, and Joe Witt Jr., who are like, yep, bring me those guys. We can work with them, and let's get over the top.
When are those off-season Deebo Samuel workout pictures coming? They got to be coming, right?
You need to silence the picture of him in the green Eagles gear or whatever it was. The green. No one liked seeing that.
I want to see him in the gym, on the grind, shredding.
Not podcasting. Same story as Micah.
Weightlifting. Listen, I say this with full conviction and enthusiasm. The Chicago Bears won the free agency. The Chicago Bears are winning the offseason. And I know when you say that, it comes with this thing about, what's great job, another one. You accomplished nothing during the season. You know why I think they did it? Because I think they are making corrections already for the Matt Eberflus era. And I think what they did last year was they went to a restaurant and they had dessert before they had their main course. You're not supposed to sit down and order the tiramisu before you have the chicken parm. They went last year and it's like, ooh, great. Wide receivers and tight ends and that wide receiver and that wide receiver. And it was just all sugar. And you're like, well, hold on. The offensive line, the defensive line is kind of lacking here. So what do? Ben Johnson shows up, and 5 seconds later, they're taking every single offensive lineman, defensive lineman. You know the names, and Tooney and Deo and the entire list. I look back at last year's draft. I'm not sure that this administration would draft Rome Odunze. They might go with Olafashanu, the tackle from Penn State. They might go with Jared Verse. They might go with a little more meat and a little less sugar. I think they got a little caught up in let's just light it up with Caleb. This administration is a little bit more informed. And I also just generally, I hate the response this year when any enthusiasm or positivity for any transaction by a struggling team is met with off-season champs, off-season champs.
Raise the banner.
Raise the banner, 3rd years in a row. First of all, no one is on the Bears fan base is saying we're going to win the Super Bowl next year. I don't even see them saying we're going to win the North next year. They're saying we're getting better. Let them have that. I will also let you know that this whole offseason champion thing, here are some facts. Over the last 6 years, the teams that have spent the most in free agency, the number one spender, all of them have increased their win total by at least 3 the following year. One of them increased it by 5, and one of them increased it by 6. All right? That is just the facts right there. This year's the Patriots. They spent the most. History says the Patriots will have a +3 win total. Panthers, bad team. Broncos, bad team. Jaguars, they got 6 wins better. And you know how many people were in those teams mentioned saying congratulations, raise the banner, off-season champs? A lot. And it worked. So I know that's your favorite joke and it's your funny little retort to kick teams while they're down or actually trying to get better. How dare they? But you're wrong, and the facts say you're wrong. I think the Bears won the offseason already, as young as it is, and I think that they will have additional wins this fall to show for it. So take that.
Kyle, you really do your due diligence. I don't know if everybody knows this, but those graphics were great, and I know you handpicked those. I love seeing that. Also,
I did.
Not surprised
Yes, I
by
did.
the Bears pick. The Hinsdale, Illinois, and you is coming out. But my pick is definitely the Vikings here. When I think about a team that really won free agency, I'm like, what pieces did they put in to really make them a complete team pre-draft, right? Because the draft, you never really know. For them, I think they made all the right moves, specifically on the O-line, D-line. Like, I think of Ryan Kelly, Will Fries, Hargrave, Allen. These battles that these guys are going to be having at practice is what's going to make them great. I think back to the clips we just watched when I was on the Chargers. Our O-line, D-line battles were the best. We had Pouncey, we had Russell Okun, and then on the D-line, we had myself, Ingram, Bosa. We were great because of that. And then lastly, J.J. McCarthy. I know he's not a free agent signee, but we have to think about him kind of in that way. He hasn't played. Who is he? I'm looking at it, and I'm like, dang, let's look at him as a rookie. If he was in the draft right now, he would be the number one quarterback. So they essentially have the number one rookie quarterback. I mean, again, he's not, but if you look at it like that, they're set. I think they're in such a good place, and they've made the right decisions to be in a great place exiting this free agency.
I like that a lot. You know, I agree. I think that's probably my second is the Vikings. I'm actually going to agree with Kyle Hill and say that my first is the Bears. And I say it for a little bit of different reasons. I think that the Bears are done with the days of letting cornerstone guys like Roquan Smith go, all the boneheaded decisions, coordinators getting fired mid-seasons. All of those types of things are going to be done under this administration that is with this organization and Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles. I think they're finally going to have cohesion. I think that when you look at these free agents, because it's easy to go and get the sexy name. It's easy to go and get a guy that is just a great player, but they're getting great players and they're getting them with intention. And when you look at guys like Jonah Jackson, who played in Detroit under Ben Johnson's system and knows the offense, when you look at Grady Jarrett, one of the guys who's been one of the most consistent guys in the NFL at defensive tackle, every single move that they're doing is happening with cohesion. I think too many times coaches have messages for players and things that they say, but the GM doesn't necessarily agree. And the moves that the GM is making isn't necessarily in line with those messages. And all of that stuff trickles into the culture of the players. We talk about it in the locker room, and we all know. We text about it in our group chats or whatever the case is. So I think now they're finally in a place where everybody is rowing the boat in the same direction. And I don't think the Chicago Bears have been in that place in quite some time.
I think he's been career noted as having a great deep ball. So I love that, of course.
And so I'll ask Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I think Aaron Rodgers is probably the greatest quarterback to ever, just pure thrower of the ball to ever play football. So I have a ton of respect for him. And, I know obviously everybody loves in this league, once you get a little older, it happens to everybody. They're like, oh, he doesn't got it anymore or whatever. But, I think Aaron Rodgers has shown that he can still spin it.
Peter, how strange it must be for those guys to talk about a team that they don't know who the quarterback is going to be. That's where we are with the current state of the New York Giants. Peter, what else do you have to think about them?
I think everyone has been having their whacks at the Giants, and I think there has been this feeling of schadenfreude almost, of like, look at this team. They're courting Aaron Rodgers at 41 years old, and they're waiting on him. I actually think the Giants did very well this week, and they added important pieces, and they have some real strong points to this roster that if you take and you block out the fact that they're waiting and they're meeting with Russell Wilson and they're meeting with Aaron Rodgers and whatever else, look at their defense. Look at this defensive backfield that they have put together here right now, which, as we know, and you're watching the Eagles this year, when you add a Cooper DeJean and you add a Quinyon Mitchell, this could be a very, very important piece to a roster. You're talking about, here's your protected started secondary. When you go to the nickel corners also, you got a 26-year-old free agent. You got a 24-year-old former first-round pick. Phillips and Newman were great rookies last year. And Holland's one of the better safeties in the game. Then you look at the front seven and you're like, oh, well, surely they don't get to the quarterback or they're not good there. They have probably the best defensive tackle in the sport in Dexter Lawrence. They have Brian Burns, who's still 27, one of the best pass rushers. Thibodeau's a former first-round pick. And then Bobby Okereke was solid as a linebacker, and they like McFadden. Like, there are strengths to this Giants team. And, oh, yeah, by the way, Malik Neighbors and Tyrone Tracy had amazing rookie seasons. So, like, I see this as a young ascending team. They're a quarterback away. Mm-hmm. They don't have a quarterback. Daniel Jones was horrendous last year and then got injured. And then it was awful after that. Like, they don't have a quarterback. It's hard to win football games without a quarterback. But there are pieces there. Color me an optimist, or maybe it's because I grew up in New Jersey that I'm like, the Giants aren't that far off. Throw in Aaron Rodgers. Heck, throw in Russell Wilson. Draft a quarterback. I think the Giants are on their way, and they could be competitive this year. Call me crazy.
Good job, Peter. Great.
Is that a heavy lift? I don't know.
Yeah, it was. Great. Yeah, it was. And when you bring up the depth chart and everything, you got the bar on your shoulder. But you're doing it. It's not nothing to do with you being from New Jersey. You're tired of the Schadenfreude. You're tired of the tomato can. Like, you hate that.
And it's like they did offseason Hard Knocks, so everyone thinks that everyone's an idiot in that building. Like, guys, earth to the fans at home. Saquon Barkley wasn't running for 2,000 yards as a New York Giant last year. It wasn't happening. This worked out for both sides. Like, the Eagles were the best place for him, and the Giants used that money to invest in the offensive line. If they have a quarterback, they might be better off also. Saquon was not rushing for 2,000 yards and winning a Super Bowl with the Giants last year. Trust me. I'm telling you, those teams are very different spots. So to me, to kick them while they're down on that decision, like, I still don't know if that's not the right decision or the wrong decision to let Saquon walk out the door. I know it sounds crazy. They committed to the quarterback a year earlier. They couldn't do both. They made a mistake with the quarterback.
The reason it's such a heavy lift isn't just because the Giants have been made fun of a lot. It's that it's very difficult to talk about the Giants because who is the quarterback? Like, that's the whole thing. So I'm a big fan of Patton Oswalt. Where's this conversation going? Patton Oswalt tells great stories of Blade Trinity. He was in Blade Trinity. Okay? And he's like, listen, I know the movie's terrible. I get it. Wesley Snipes would not come out of the dressing room. We could not make the movie. He literally would not leave the dressing room. I'm sitting there, and we got Ryan Reynolds and Jessica Biel, and they got their swords and their bows and arrows. We're all ready to roll. There was no star. We couldn't make a movie. He wouldn't leave the dressing room. The Giants quarterback in 2025 will not come out of the dressing room. They're trying to make a movie. We're trying to make a show. We're sitting around waiting for it. If you suddenly tell me that, oh my God, we got to go to Rap Sheet and Aaron Rodgers is on the Giants, then we bring in Peter's full screens of Brian Burns and Malik Neighbors. And
Micah McFadden, bro.
Yes, we got it. And oh my God, Kayvon Thibodeau's only 24 years old. That's crazy. But right now, it's like you could line up Judi Dench and Daniel Day-Lewis, and you could have anybody you want. There's no lead actor. I don't know how to talk about it. There's nobody we can say, they can bring in Russell Wilson. Sure, that's all pixie dust at this point. I don't know. And the other thing I don't know, guys, is let's say Rodgers says, no, I'm going to retire, I'm going to become a Steeler. What is plan B? I don't know what that is because they're not starting the season with Tommy DeVito. It's not going to happen.
Shedeur.
All right, so Shedeur is plan B. We're going to take Deion Sanders' kid, put him into New York City and say, week 1, you're the starter. Hope it's not against the Eagles. Like, that's a crazy plan. So it's difficult to talk about because they won't come out of the dressing room. And when they do, we will.
Yeah, Kyle, I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's very hard to talk about this team when you don't know what the quarterback situation looks like, and they have an O-line issue that just isn't solved yet that they've been asked to solve for the past 5-6 years. Outside of the pick and Andrew Thomas, it's just hard to say that they've hit on any of these picks. I'm good friends with Saquon Barkley. To this day, he still has teammates that text him like, man, I really can't believe you're gone. And just the message that's sent to the rest of the players, that it doesn't matter how good of a person you are, it doesn't matter how hard you work, it doesn't matter how talented you are or how you carry yourself or how you carry the team offensively. What it said is, we don't care about you. We're not going to give you what you deserve. So what type of inspiration and motivation are you sending to these players that they should be the best version of themselves? Because are they going to get rewarded for it? Like, that's the type of culture you're creating. And honestly, I'm surprised that, Dabble isn't in some way, shape, or form on a hot seat with this situation. I just think there's culture issues. I think they have issues offensively, although they have a couple of pieces in Malik Neighbors and their, rookie running back last year that had a good year. I just do not think that you can be excited about this New York Giants team.
I think, first off, Dayball is definitely on the hot seat, and he's thinking about that every single night. But it's hard for me to even focus because I have this song, Living on a Prayer, stuck in my head because that's what this Giants football team is doing.
New Jersey.
Peter, I love the breakdown. It's so nice, but this team is living on a prayer. Like, you can't just casually be like, oh, they're great, but we don't have a quarterback. Like, that's a huge deal. That's the name of the game in the NFL. That's a passing league. You have to have a quarterback. But that's fine. They can go get a quarterback. They don't have an O-line. They had the worst O-line in the NFL last year, which is a game changer and that will ruin an offense. I live by the phrase, prior planning prevents poor performance, and that is bulletproof. And that's what's happening with this team right now. I think of this I think of this division, Dak Prescott, Hurts, Jaden Daniels. And then I'm like, Shador, DeVito, Cam Ward. It just doesn't even sound right. So this team right now, I think they have to literally pray and hope because that's where they're at right now.
In honor of Russell Wilson's tour of these random cities and another home, here are my top 10 favorite Russell Wilson plays
All right.
in NFL history.
Russell takes the snap, looks far side. He's going to throw downfield. He's got Metcalf. He's got a touchdown. Seahawks. DK Metcalf one-on-one down the far sidelines. Perfect pass by Russell Wilson. What a Hall of Fame career he is having. And he's got another 20 or 30 years left.
On a 3rd and 4, shotgun Wilson. Steps up, runs into his own man. Wilson now trying to circle. Wilson breaks a tackle. Russell Wilson with a tremendous individual effort for the first down.
Now this is an example of this young man's poise and desire. Here's the desire part, not losing focus down the field, then deciding to run. And how about breaking the tackle of Gerard Mayo?
Wilson's got space, got nobody downfield though. Making it up, cue the circus music. Wilson throwing for Baldwin. Oh my goodness, he caught it! And there goes Baldwin down the sideline. Vintage Seahawk play. Baldwin out of bounds inside the 5. Unbelievable stuff.
Are you kidding me? Russell Wilson. He did more pirouettes than a ballerina. He found a way to throw the ball deep, and Doug Baldwin out-jumps the defender and takes it all the way down inside the 5-yard line.
From the 39-yard line. Whoops. Oh, a high snap off his shoulder. And now Wilson is trying to get it away. And wide open, making the catch is Tyler Lockett. And Lockett is inside the 20. And Tyler Lockett gets slung down at the 4-yard line.
Absolutely unbelievable. Watch the fact that none of the offensive linemen go downfield. So many times on a busted play like this, they will go down the field and Lockett all alone. Everybody gets distracted on something like that.
Russ takes the snap, looks, gonna let it fly. Downfield, Tyler Lockett is out there. Lockett makes the catch in the end zone. Touchdown, Seahawks. How does he get open? How does he do that? Tyler Lockett is amazing. And the perfect pass from Russell Wilson, a 47-yard shot before halftime, 47 seconds left. And a perfect pass, Lockett with his second score of the night.
Play fake, Russ rolls left, in trouble, pirouettes, continues to roll left, throws the ball to the back of the end zone, caught, but is he inbounds? Here comes Bill Vinovich.
The runner completed the pass. Touchdown.
Yes, sir. How about that one? You will see an unbelievable throw by Russell Wilson, and it is a touchdown for the Broncos.
And you won't see a better catch or throw all season long.
And the charisma, the leadership. Every room he walks into, he's the man. Look at that.
Back it away.
Look at that.
Look at this.
Look at that.
How do you stop that?
I don't know. He's not the fastest. He's not the biggest. He doesn't have the best arm. He just creates magic. That's fantastic. I mean, that is just incredible football. Wow.
Luke Wilson in motion on the left side. Russell, play fake. Steps back. Has time. Still surveying the field. Now he rolls left. Now he scrambles. Now he's going to throw to the back of the end zone. Reaching up, making a catch. Did he get his feet in again? Touchdown! Seahawks! The littlest guy on the field climbed the ladder. 13 yards, but that was like a 35-yard throw. How in the world did he get that through there? And a perfect throw. The only place it could be for Lockett to make the catch and still get his feet down. Russell in the pocket. Russell for Curse, and that's broken up again. And is it? But somehow, did he wind up with a football?
I think Butler hit it, and it fell right back down to the ground. Unbelievable.
Well, Curse goes for it. It's still not on the ground. It's still not on the ground. It's still. Well, look at that.
Oh my! I can't believe he didn't get up and get in the end zone in time.
Wilson toward the end zone. It is Seattle's going to the Super Bowl. Jermaine Kearse takes the middle of the field. He beats Tramon Williams, and another perfectly thrown pass by Russell Wilson. When the game was on the line and you had to start making some plays, Russell Wilson, Marshawn Lynch, they made them. It's as improbable of a win as I've ever witnessed.